Welcome to This Week in Guns, a podcast that covers a commentary on the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz. Brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. I'm your host, Jake Challen, president of FRN. You make this show possible. That's right. You simply click through our Amazon affiliate link the next time you're shopping online, and a small portion of your sale goes to supporting pro-gun shows like This Week in Guns. We have a great panel this week. We have Billy Johnson of Boxer Tactical. Hey, Billy.
Hey, Jake. How you doing?
Doing great. And we have Ebbs of House of Guns. Hey, Ebbs.
What up, Jake?
We have Nate Murr, Director of Business Development at Kinetic Development Group, and currently on the, last episode of Lost or something. Where are you at?
I'm on my back porch. It's a beautiful evening.
I see torches. I see jungle. Did you get voted off the island?
Oh.
No, it's just like
I would have owned that island.
John Patton of the Gun Collective and professional Donkey Kong Tournament referee. Who put that in there?
One more time.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are sometimes those of the individual co-hosts and sometimes
yes!
may or may not reflect. Good Lord.
You want to try it again?
May or may not reflect the official policy or position of the Firearms Radio Network and or their employers. Viewer discretion is advised, especially on live shows. Patriot Patch Company helps make this episode possible. Check out the new cleaning mats we have up for pre-order coming soon, AR-15 and also an AK version. And check out the patch frames. I forgot to put mine up again. Have big, beautiful patch frames over at patriotpatch.co. And also some new summertime brew patch is up for pre-order. So check it out. patriotpatch.co. New Patreon perks, patreon.com/week. Pledge at the $10 level, and you can hang out with us after the show. Top stories this week start with something positive. If we can find anything, permitless carry now legal in Idaho. It went into effect, I believe it was July 1st. We had mentioned this previously that this bill had passed, but now it's in effect where as long as you're not a prohibitive individual and as long as you're, I believe, 21 years or older, you can legally conceal carry as a resident inside the state of Idaho.
That's pretty cool.
That's great news.
That's ninth state.
Is it really ninth? Wow.
That's constitutional carry, right, Billy? Is that what that's considered?
It depends. It's funny. I was just looking at a map on that, and some states that I saw didn't require a permit technically weren't considered constitutional carry. So I actually don't know, but I think it should be 50 states, obviously. I think it's rather concerning it's only 9 states. But
I think that they have to pass it and call it that shows that it's not constitutional carry.
Right. Right. We have to pass a law that says constitutional carry.
It's in the Bill of Rights, but we need to clarify by adding another law to say we can do it now.
Exactly.
Well, I mean,
I was just looking at...
Hopefully it promotes more people carrying concealed, more people out there exercising their Second Amendment rights, and with everything that's been going on lately with like the San Bernardino terrorist attack and the Pulse nightclub terrorist attack, maybe more people are going to wake up and realize that personal defense is exactly that. It's a personal responsibility.
And we have...
I think it's interesting that it said... sorry, Jake, I was going to say, I thought it was interesting that it said residents.
They're gonna they're gonna have to figure something out for non-residents then, huh?
Right. I'm sure there's still reciprocity with your permits. Your permit in Pennsylvania or like me, Michigan. But I think it's interesting that it would only be for residents of the state.
Well, what kind of trade is there in Idaho? Is there a large is there a large contingent of like oil field or something like that where you have out-of-state workers coming in? So they're clarifying and saying, okay, you may be spending a lot of time in Idaho, working in Idaho or something like that, but you're required to be a resident, or is that related to unenforced illegals or something like that? Maybe is why they added that terminology.
I mean, maybe it's all about those potatoes.
Yeah, outsourcing the potato harvest again.
See?
So, gun industry lobbying group has funded 100 college shooting clubs. This is the National Shooting Sports Foundation, who is a big part of collegiate shooting clubs, which are actually expanding, believe it or not, in some states and colleges. So that's good to hear.
I was just talking to a friend of mine who's actually a camp counselor at a very large Boy Scout camp out on the West Coast, right? And it's my friend Jen. She's been doing this for 16 years, and she was telling me about if it wasn't for the NRA coming through with grants for ammunition, they would probably have to shut down their firearms portion of the camp. So, like when I was a little boy and I went to Boy Scout camp, like you got your rifleman merit badge and you got your shotgun merit badge, and if your parents didn't own guns, that was like the only time of the year that you could shoot a gun and get that merit badge. So she was telling me about like how much ammunition the NRA actually provides to her camp alone, and it's a substantial amount of ammunition. And like to me, I'm like, I think she said it was like 10,000 rounds of 22 alone, and I'm like, oh, that's like what I shoot a year. But like when you have literally thousands of boys come through the camp every summer, or at the very least several hundred. You break that down, $10,000 worth of, or 10,000 rounds of ammunition really isn't that much. Like everybody gets to shoot like maybe 25 rounds or 50 rounds or whatever it might be. But if the NRA did not support the Boy Scouts of America, there'd be all these Boy Scout camps that couldn't sustain, because we all know ammunition is expensive. 22 is not cheap anymore. So I thought that was really cool. Like that's like one of those good guy things that the NRA does. Even though there's a lot of things about the NRA I don't agree with, I like that they support programs like that, and like other things like this article's about.
Well, I mean, it's really interesting to me, particularly one because I'm surprised ammunition companies don't support things like that.
That's a good point.
Like, why does the NRA and the NSSF have to do this? Why is it not specific? Like, why are these executives not going, you know what, we need to invest in our future? That's very curious to me. Secondly, I think it's very, very interesting that we're seeing growth in this, but we are being told by the media that guns are less and less of a thing when we know and see it every single day that that's not true. I think it's just very, very interesting.
It's like I'm sorry, Billy.
I was just going to say I had a chance to tour Hillsdale College down in Michigan, and they have a massive shooting program. Built this amazing facility. Someone donated the land, gave them the money to do it. And when I was down there with the tour, they had amazing, guns and the clubhouse, and I was like, so who are your sponsors? And they looked at me like, nobody. I'm like, so none of the gun manufacturers, none of the ammo manufacturers are sponsoring you guys? And they go, nope. And I was kind of blown away by that, because to me it's such an opportunity. And it's cool to see the NSSF do this, but honestly, this article is actually written from a point of view that this is a real negative, right? The article is kind of like, hey, look what the gun lobby's doing. They're trying to get college kids hooked on guns for the most part. And what I just did a quick Google here. So this is all based on Harvard, right? That they originally gave a $10,000 grant to Harvard to start their shooting club, which had been shut down for decades. So in 2009, that year that this article is complaining about that $10K, Harvard Med School was also given $11.5 million by big pharmaceutical companies. And here we are, Boston Globe's taking out an article saying, hey, NSSF, who, by the way, opposed several gun bills in Connecticut, gave $10,000. And big pharmaceuticals giving $11.5 million to Harvard to obviously manipulate, probably, outcomes on research. So I just think that's really funny. I think it's a little misguided.
Have
Yeah,
another. Go ahead, John, real quick.
I was just going to say I would really like to see, and for any industry executives out there that may be listening, I'd like to see you guys supporting this kind of stuff. I mean, we all would. No ifs, ands, or buts. This is important.
Yeah, Patriot Patch is actually looking into, in some way, sponsoring a collegiate three-gun team.
See, there you go.
So, I mean,
I tell you what, if you made a BSA patch, like just like the classic Boy Scout symbol patch, Jake, I guarantee that it would sell, especially if every patch that sold benefited Boy Scouts of America. I would buy one just for that alone.
yeah, that'd be interesting to see if they'd even be up for something like that. Not a bad idea. Another National Shooting Sports Foundation article here. It's actually an infographic about how gun crimes are plummeting and gun sales are rising. Homicides with this, I think, since the early 90s, homicides with firearms down 43%. Other crime with firearms down 70%. And then it's got, just this big giant increase, bar graph of fire, cumulative firearms.
One more time.
What? Try it again. Let's go. Here we go.
Cumulative.
Don't feel bad, Jake. I stumble on that word all the time.
But cumulative is they get it. The listeners get it. Go ahead.
They do now. I am in your debt. Unintentional firearms fatalities are down quite a bit. They show 1994 numbers compared to 2004, and it's like half as many unintentional firearms fatalities. And then 2004 to 2014, it's dropped just slightly. But I don't know. You think that must be due to education, I suppose?
I was thinking about this the other day, right? Like, how hunters in most states have to wear blaze orange during, like, rifle season for deer and stuff like that, right? Well, that wasn't, I don't think it was till, like, the late 70s or early 80s that became a thing, right? So the Game Commission in Pennsylvania got to the point where every year hunters got shot in the woods, and like it's crazy numbers, right?
Because you guys do deer drives at each other.
No, that was more common back then than it is now, even. But what I'm saying is, like, there's these older, hypothetically more safe people in our past did stupid things like not wear bright colors or shoot like something rustled in the brush, so they just shot at it, right? What I'm saying is that once they implemented blaze orange for hunters that deer can't see because they're colorblind, hunting-related deaths went down drastically, right? So every year, yeah, there's a handful of incidences, but not like it was before. It was like an epidemic of hunters getting shot by other hunters, right? So what I'm saying is, like, if you look at like the statistics that were kept back then, if you shot a guy in the woods, does that count as a firearms-related incident? Like, if you killed a guy, was that a manslaughter charge or negligent, homicide kind of thing? What I'm saying is that, like, safety, our industry's put a lot of emphasis on safety. Like hearing protection. When I was a teenager, I never wore earplugs shooting, right? Like nobody ever told me to put earplugs in. It was just like part of being a man. Like, it wasn't a thing. But now it's like,
Dad, my ears are bleeding.
Like, shut up, it builds character, boy. Right? But what I'm saying is, like, now, like I can't tell you last time I was at the range where I didn't see somebody wearing ear pro and eye pro. You know what I mean? So I think we are becoming more safe. And I also think that by more citizens buying firearms and there's more formalized training today available to people than there was 10 years ago, which is more than ever before in American history. So yeah, I think people, not only are they becoming more safe, I think they're also getting better judgment. They're getting better training. So that obviously that has to increase their survivability, especially if they're in the position where they have to use that gun in self-defense.
Look at the way we share information now. It's much more efficient. Right. So that safety information that may not have made its way to the end user is now making its way everywhere. When you buy a new gun, everybody's excited to bring you in and excited to bring you up to speed on what's safe, how to do it, the culture, the gun culture itself is changing in its own way. But I think combining, the social media, the just transfer of information in general electronically, and all of these things, and newer shooters getting into it. Just a different demographic of people altogether that is focused on having fun but also being safe is just swelling.
Yeah.
I think that's a large portion of shooters nowadays.
One thing I think you need to bring up about firearms too is when you've seen other things become safer. Okay, and by safer I mean less accidents. You look at cars. The way we had more people survive car crashes was we made cars more safe. Guns have stayed the same, and yet unintentional firearm accidents have dropped. They've plummeted, right? And that's all because of education, which is fascinating to me, right? Because you can claim people survive car accidents, more readily today than they did 50 years ago, because you know what? We don't have metal dashboards.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's the difference of 20 years, Billy, right there.
I know. It's 20 years of education, of people becoming more aware, and I think John's onto something too. We're more connected now, so the access to information is more readily available.
Well,
but I think what you see...
20 years ago, would Guns and Ammo have ran an article about how to be safe on the range? No, nobody would have read that, right? But you can go online today and read 20 different articles about gun safety and being safe on the range, right? While 20 years ago, that article would never have ran in any magazine because it wasn't a sexy article. Nobody would want to read that article because they're like, oh, that's boring. I'm not going to read it. So I doubt they would have published it. So the only way you could have learned to be safe with a gun was your mentor, like your dad or a friend, or if you took a hunter safety class, which was a one-time event. So
here's a quick theory. Perhaps the part of the reason, I'm not saying the entirety of the reason, but perhaps the reason this is happening is because we are seeing a swell in new firearms owners. So magazines see more value, and publications see more value in putting out information for the newer shooter, right? And therefore, because the experienced shooter is still consuming a lot of that information, it's being reinforced to the experienced as well as going out to the new guys. And therefore, it's changing the culture in general. What do you think about that?
And not to mention, we've perfected fear-mongering, so...
We're not there yet. We don't have it down to a science, but we're getting close. But like what Billy's saying, though, is I agree with him 100%. It's a very interesting, like almost the point where it's almost a phenomenon where cars have gotten safer. What are you saying, like metal dashboards and like cars didn't have seatbelts, for the longest time, and now we have, airbags and all kinds of better safety equipment. The vehicle is less likely to catch fire. That technology's changed, but realistically, an AR-15 has not changed since 1955. So why would we see one and not the other? Well, there's not like that much, like Toyota's not putting out safety information on how to be a better driver and a safer driver, but we as a community of gun enthusiasts are constantly doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and this is definitely an argument that the anti-gunners use for, smart gun technology. Like, look at all these accidental deaths. We can stop this. Well, hey, we have had no technology changes at all with firearms, and accidental deaths have plummeted. And accidental firearm deaths are minuscule compared to other accidents. I encourage people to go to the CDC and look at the data. I mean, they're so far down on the list, it's ridiculous that it should even be a national conversation. There are so many other things that are more dangerous that people die from than accidentally shooting themselves. It's almost off the radar. It's ridiculous.
All right, we got to keep moving. Into positive news, into the main topics. Both sides offer gun control measures in the House this week, right after the 4th of July break. Mainly no-fly, no-buy list type stuff. It looks like, I think the one that was put up by the House is going to proceed, which is the less restrictive one that would actually preserve some of the due process.
But very, very, very important thing called due process.
Companion story: Marine spends 4 years on no-fly list.
Not me.
Not this Marine.
Yeah, but the thing was, like, this kid he wasn't a bad guy. He was on a no-fly list, and he was serving in the military. So the thing is, like, you know, when we fly overseas to go like do God's work and punish the sand people, you know what we do? We go on charter jets and we fly over mostly on charter jets to go to the Middle East to fight. It's not like you're getting on a C-130 and flying all the way to Kuwait, you know. So like the idea that somebody that's defending our country can be put on a no-fly list is asinine. Is insane.
So it's HR 4237, Section 2 of the bill. They're calling it the Protect America Act of 2015, which is interesting. But Section 2, granting the Attorney General the authority to deny the sale, delivery, or transfer of firearms to known or suspected terrorists, requiring information sharing regarding attempted firearms purchases by known or suspected terrorists, authorizing the investigation of known or suspected terrorists who attempt to purchase firearms. Why does this power go to the Attorney General? That's my confusion here.
Like, why is that not falling on the shoulders of the FBI or
right? Like, what we're giving a lawyer the power to deny? I mean, granted, lawyers write all the damn stuff at the ATF. The ATF doesn't really do that much, but I just find that confusing.
You're also giving the power to the executive branch, since the Attorney General is under the executive branch, which is even more concerning to me. It's more of a centralizing of power under the executive branch, which is all those departments have really become the fourth branch of government.
Well, and, I mean, does the FBI not have this same power?
Well, I mean, you would have to present, technically speaking, right? You would have to present a case and charge someone with a crime. You would arrest them, then you charge them, then there would be a trial, then if they were found guilty, they would lose their rights. That's how it's supposed to work, and that's how it should work. The fact that we even have lists that would be used to deny people rights is ridiculous. If the guy's a terrorist, he's a terrorist, right? Charge him with a crime.
The thing is, J. Edgar Hoover
shouldn't be confusing.
J. Edgar Hoover kept secret lists of Americans that were suspicious, like known Communist Party members, like people that hadn't done anything wrong. But the thing was, like, they still didn't take people's rights away. So the thing is, like, does the FBI currently have the ability to take away a constitutional right on the suspicion of a possible alleged crime? No, they don't. You have to be committed. You have to commit the crime to be, like Billy just said, to be
charged.
Charged for it, so that right can be taken away. And if you have not committed the crime, there's not intent to commit the crime, then how can you lose rights? That's the whole point of this whole due process thing, is that if you're thrown on that list arbitrarily over something as small as suspicion, like you have a brother who is in Pakistan and your family came here 20 years ago, that's enough to get you on that list. Well, unless you're actually like talking about financing Al-Qaeda or actively participating in funding or aiding or abetting these people, then you can basically put anybody you want on that list. They won't even know that they're on the list. It's not like you get a letter in the mail, and then getting off the list is like next to impossible.
Well, half the time you don't know that you're on the list. Just like you're saying, it's complete and utter BS to even have this thing even exists.
So let's say this. Let's say the ATF audits every 4473 where someby bought an AR-15 in the last 5 years. It decides that buying an AR-15 is suspicious behavior, and everybody that's filled out a 4473 in the last 5 years for an AR-15 is put on that list.
Well, let's go beyond that. If you bought ammunition, if you bought binary, like all of these things, if some, how do I say this without sounding like a nutcase? If Hillary Clinton decides that you're out there and you did something that she doesn't like, and you end up on this list without due process, you have no recourse.
That's the beauty of it. This is more effective. This is more dangerous than banning guns or banning ammunition, which we all know it's going to be next to impossible to do in entirety, right? But the thing is, it's like instead of banning guns, like what's this bill called? The Safe America Act? Well, that sounds suspiciously like the Patriot Act, right? Let's give it a fuzzy, all-American name so people are like, oh, I agree with that. I want to protect America.
I want America to be safe.
I want America to be safe, right? But in reality, you don't have to take away somebody's guns. You just have to make it where they can't buy guns, they can't get on an airplane, they can't buy ammunition, and then now they're being monitored even more so by the federal government.
Well, I mean, think about it. We talk a lot about not being able to buy guns, but this is also a no-fly list. You're impeding someone's right to travel around the United States.
That's what I'm saying, though. It's like if they sign off on this and it's that restrictive, this is, look, we all know that gun control is not about controlling guns, it's about controlling people. This is the exact same thing. This is just people control. It has nothing to do with safety, it has nothing to do with controlling guns, it has everything about controlling the people. So if you want to get thrown on that list over some, like a Facebook comment, right? An angry comment on a Facebook could get you on a watch list. Or because the government feels that you buying 4,000 rounds of 5.56 this month is suspicious, they're put on that list. And once you're on that list, you're on that list. You might not know for years, like, if you don't fly very often, like, honestly, it's probably going to be one of those things where you don't know you're on that list until you go to get on an airplane to go visit, like, Tampa or something.
Right, because the airline's not going to stop you from buying a ticket.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. It's like money. This is definitely one of those slippery slope things where it's like it could, if we don't trust the government enough to have a strict set of confines that how you get put on that list and the appeal process to get taken, like, you have to be notified that you're put on this list. They're not going to do that. Like, say, like, look, we honestly catch real bad guys in this country. It happens every day. We've had so many near misses in this country. I promise you we have. We've had so many near misses because the FBI and CIA and all the different government agencies working together to fight terrorism internationally and domestically, right? So we've had some near misses, but we luckily caught them in time. And then there's been some times where we didn't catch. San Bernardino is a perfect example of one that we didn't catch, right? Even though they traveled overseas, even though they had a whole bunch of shady stuff going on, they didn't catch it, right? So what I'm saying is, overall, with this whole proposition, it's going to do more damage to the American people, the law-abiding citizen, than it's ever going to do to fight international terrorism or domestic terrorism.
Let me just say something, Jake, here before we move on to that, how this is going to be sold. This is going to be sold as that there is an appeals process, right? That we're going to put you on this list, you're going to have the right to appeal to get your name off of that list, but until you appeal, you're still not going to be allowed to buy a gun. And here's the important thing with that. That is still wrong, and what that does is that changes the whole presumption of innocence in our country.
Oh my God, yes.
What the government is saying now is they're saying you're guilty until you prove to us your innocence. So we need to stand up and fight that. It's going to be sold as, hey, there's an appeals process. It's BS. It doesn't matter.
Well, and
you are innocent until proven guilty.
And these are, like, this is a bipartisan or a Republican-sponsored bill, is it not?
Yeah,
Right.
The Republicans have one and the Democrats have one. Yep.
Okay.
So, it makes it more dangerous.
Right. So, you know, this isn't necessarily consider a matter of one side or the other. This is just that crew in general using different terms to come after the rights.
Absolutely.
Right, and again, it gives more power to the executive branch, and the executive branch already has far too much power. The balance of power in this country has shifted tremendously, and the executive branch needs to be reeled back in. And the last thing I'm ever going to do is vote for giving the executive branch more power.
Oligarchy.
All right, keep this thing moving. Have breaking news: FBI Comey clears Clinton. No charges appropriate in this case. And FBI did not record Clinton interview, did not administer sworn oath.
Cool.
Pretty awesome. They didn't record it. No sworn testimony.
You know what I find the most interesting is this happened a couple days ago. You know, this is not really what I would call breaking news at this point, but what I think is the most interesting is now that this news got out, everybody's like, what the curse word, timestamp, whatever. Everybody in the nation, Bernie Sanders supporters, Donald Trump supporters, Gary Johnson, like everybody, even Hillary Clinton supporters. Wait, what? What did she do? How did she get away with that? Everybody. There's not a person in the United States besides Gary Johnson that thinks she's not a criminal.
You know what was disturbing to me today after just watching some snippets of the congressional hearing was finding out about how many hands were on, like, just take the emails and the servers for examples, finding out how many people had their hands on them, like, to sort and hand over to the FBI before the FBI even had them. Like, all of her legal team and lawyers and stuff like that. For whatever reason, I guess I had completely spaced on that part in terms of the cooperation side of things, where it's like the classified documents and classified emails are going in front of so many sets of eyes still.
Well, the evidence was so tainted, right? The evidence was so tainted.
Right.
I mean, how many people pulled crap out of there that the FBI never got? It's unbelievable.
Are you guys aware of this Marine Corps officer who's getting thrown on the Marines for releasing classified information on his personal email?
The one email that he sent about a warning about an ISIS operative.
Yeah, Major Jason Bresler, right? He was one of my officers, right? This guy was like the most true blue American. He is the most true blue American you ever could meet, right? So when they started filing charges against him, pursuing him, this is what happened. He received an email from an old contact, right? Like, I'm not going to give you my home address, but I've given my email out to people I met overseas, right? He received an email saying, hey, listen, I think something bad's going to go down. I don't know what channels to go through. I don't trust the local Afghani authorities. I'm just telling you this is what it is. He saw the email. He reacted to it. So he notified the Marines and other people that were in country at the time that, hey, listen, I just received this information. This might be coming your way. I need to let you know this immediately so that you can prepare, right? So instead of getting a medal for going above and beyond and reacting to it immediately, they started a witch hunt on him over, well, wait, this was on a personal server, so this person sent a possible terrorist attack, piece of information to you on a personal email that you received on a personal email, and you responded on a personal email. You can't be in the Marine Corps anymore. This guy carried a piece of glass from 9/11, from the day that he was standing there, in his pocket on every combat deployment and every day of his life, from the moment he watched those towers fell. This guy's the most patriotic American I ever met, right? Major Bresler was one of the best, most beloved officer in my old battalion. And he's fighting to stay in the Marine Corps, and he's fighting to stay out of jail. So he did something good involving classified information on an email, and they're trying to drum him out of the Marine Corps and maybe throw him in prison, right?
And he's just one of the many people that did something way, way, way different, smaller, whatever. I mean, this woman had thousands of emails.
And then to play negligence, like, well, she didn't know any better. Listen, if you make it to the point where you're secretary, like, whatever branch of executive government you're in, you should know better at that point.
And let's regardless, we know she effed up, right? We know she screwed up big time. But to have the head of the FBI come out and say, we know she's wrong, we believe she's wrong, she broke the law, but we're not going to prosecute her.
And look how
say goodbye to any consequences for someone important in our country. Watch it topple. The justice system, if this is not corrected, will topple.
Well, here's the thing: the FBI should not be saying that they will not prosecute, and he because it's not his decision, right? He presents the information to the career prosecutor at the Department of Justice, and those career prosecutors are not appointed by the president. They are prosecutors that have just been employed there, so they should be able to not make decisions based on politics. So the fact that he came out and said this is really a softball throw to the Justice Department to give them a little cover so when they don't charge her, right? Like, that was all planned, man.
Masterly worded. The most masterly worded dialogue. I couldn't believe the guy's speech.
Yeah, he totally gave the Department of Justice cover. It's really, truly unbelievable because as an FBI agent, especially the director of the FBI, he should not have even gotten into the prosecution part because it's not his decision. So just total BS, total corruption. I have zero faith in our federal government. Zero.
But like we were just saying, though, it's like there's so many people on all the sides, like, whether or not you're a Hillary supporter or a Trump supporter or independent or Bernie or whatever it might be, there's so many people in this country saying, how is she not in trouble? You just said that she did something wrong, but because she didn't know, she's not going to have charges filed against her? Like, this is what I'm saying. It's like ignorance of the law. If I buy a rifle, or say I buy an AR lower, and I build a short barrel rifle out of it because of ignorance of the law, and I'm at the range shooting, and an ATF guy stops by and he sees me doing it, I'm probably going to get arrested. And I'm like, well, I didn't know I had to have a 16-inch barrel. I just, I watched this YouTube video and built my own AR-15. Doesn't matter. Felonies been committed. You're going to jail because my barrel's 3 inches shorter than what it needs to be legal, right? So ignorance of the law is not an excuse for breaking the law, right? That's what we're saying. That's what we all understand. That's why us as gun owners, we do due diligence. We go above and beyond. Most gun owners know more about firearms laws than most of my cop buddies do. So here is Hillary Clinton. How can a woman be in that much power as it is and not be aware that passing classified information on a private server is not a no-no? And then to say, well, I didn't know, that excuses it? That makes it okay? That's asinine. Like, you're going to see people doing the Hillary Clinton defense the next time they get busted for something over negligence. Hell, at this point, I would. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm out of words when it comes to Hillary Clinton.
I'm gonna interrupt because this is happening while we're recording this show right now. I don't know what exactly is going on, but there's something serious going on in Dallas. It sounds like the live video that I was just sent was like just shootout style stuff at a protest regarding one of these police shootings that happened recently. And like it's not just like a couple rounds fired. It's like back and forth. It sounds like rifles. It's a big deal.
It's like a Ferguson type thing?
Yeah. And I don't know, because it's happening right now while we're doing this, I don't know exactly what's going on, but I'm getting fed information from Matt DeVito, who has been on the show before. He's sending me some stuff while we're on, and dude, that does not look good.
Yeah, I see.
We'll have to keep an eye on it.
Fox 4 in Dallas. The current headline is 2 officers shot at protest in Dallas. 10 plus shots fired. Active shooter.
I look forward to Hillary's press release tomorrow.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Right, moving
Absolutely
on.
unreal.
California governor signs 6 of the 10 anti-gun bills.
Before his European vacation.
And yeah, Jerry Brown says, I'm coming for your high-capacity magazines.
Yeah.
Your move, California.
Man, California has just got a real uphill battle as far as Second Amendment rights go, and I don't know if it can be turned around. Before it was if you had a pre-ban magazine, you could keep it, which was like 19, whatever the day was. I don't know what the
94.
Yeah, you could keep it. Now it's going to be you can't even own them. So you're going to have to either destroy it, you're going to have to turn it into law enforcement, or you're going to have it leave the state. I don't think a lot of people are going to comply, but if you're seen at the range with a high capacity magazine, does that mean you can be arrested?
The consequence for the magazine thing specifically is the kind of least of the worries. It's $100 the first time, $250 the second time, and then up to $500 every time after that. Essentially, they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna try and arrest people for it. I'm sure there will be some misunderstanding and all kinds of nonsense in that way about it. But there is not a single law that was enacted in California that is constitutional or okay.
All right, let's go.
The ammo issue is going to be pretty horrible.
Let's go through these really quick. Bills that Governor Brown signed. Assembly Bill 1511 is requiring that infrequent loans of a firearm be made only to family members. So what does that mean? You can't. Apparently, it's saying you can't loan a firearm to a friend. Does that mean even at a range you can't, quote unquote, loan it to a friend? I wonder. Senate Bill 880 and also corresponds with Assembly Bill 1135, amending the definition of assault weapons to include semi-automatic rifles with magazines that can be detached with a bullet button. Assembly Bill 1695 is makes expanding the existing misdemeanor of making a false report to law enforcement to include that a firearm has been lost or stolen, and imposing a 10-year ban on owning a firearm for people convicting of making a false report. Senate Bill 1235, creating a new regulatory framework for purchasing and selling ammunition. Senate Bill 1446 is banning possession of high-capacity magazines holding more than 10 rounds.
I'm just going to plug this real quick because, if people need a refresher on all of that, there is a TGC episode breaking down all these laws, the best I could. So if you need a refresher after what Jake just said, go ahead and watch that, because it's asinine completely. It's completely ridiculous.
So how does the ammunition thing work? Are they going to get like a FOID-style card like I have in Illinois, and you have to present a FOID card when purchasing? And
well, what's interesting, Jake, is that it hasn't all been ironed out. Mr. Ghost Gun wrote that bill, and it's to build a framework for doing background checks on ammunition. So there's a lot of things that aren't really known, but there are going to be background checks. You are going to have to do a background check. Whether or not that's going to go through a state system or the NICS system, I'm not quite sure. But that means it's going to be recorded. The state's going to know how much ammo you're buying. Bringing ammo across the border is going to be illegal. And Brown even said, hey, I'm putting Arizona and Nevada on order because you are a big loophole for people in California. It's the same thing Illinois, Chicago politicians do with Indiana, which is just a bunch of BS. So I think it's going to be really interesting. I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of small businesses that aren't going to be able to comply with it, and it's probably going to put a lot of small businesses out of business, which I think many of the California politicians would love to see happen.
What's kind of interesting is there's a lot of verbiage in these laws for gunsmiths and like Hollywood. Like that's, if you're in Hollywood, this doesn't apply to you, for like prop houses and BS like that, because we gotta make the bad guys look like bad guys, and bad guys only carry standard capacity magazine, according to Hollywood, of course. But I think what I said in the video that I did was that the population of gunsmiths in California just skyrocketed.
Well, it might be a good thing for SDI.
I think I saw somewhere too that the ammo thing gave me the impression that they're going to keep some sort of bound book possibly, and every time you go into Walmart, buy ammo, they got to write down your name and this book.
There's, I think, and I'm trying to remember back a couple of days to the actual verbiage that I read, but it's along the lines of when you go in to buy, they check a list and make sure that you're on this allowed to buy list that is run by the Department of Justice in California. So basically, you're asking for permission to be able to buy ammunition.
The eerie thing about this is that in the years leading up to the American Revolution, the Brits realized that they could not control firearms or seize firearms, started controlling ammunition and the availability of powder, going so far as to staging a public meeting so that people would go so that their troops could seize powder houses where the gunpowder was stored. So it's like, you don't need to control guns, you need to control ammunition. It's the same thing. Just like, that's what I'm saying, like with this whole thing about like the no fly, no buy thing. It's like, if you can't win in one avenue and it's so well defended, which, let's all be honest, like even though the NRA is not what it's supposed to be, and all these other firearms, enthusiast groups that are fighting for the Second Amendment aren't what they should be, it's still easier to go after the other things than it is to go after the gun itself. Ammunition, yeah. Like, you can't shoot your gun if you can't get bullets, right? They know that, and that's one of the reasons why it's a provision in this whole thing with the bill.
The last battleground, I did a video about this about 2 years ago. The last battleground, I believe, is going to be the marketplace. And this has already been underway now for 2 years. You've seen companies like, lobbying Facebook. I just had an ad removed from Facebook because I had a gun in it. So the marketplace, right? And you're absolutely right, Nate. They're going to make it so hard to buy ammunition, to buy guns. They know they're going to have a hard time regulating at a federal level. So you attack the marketplace. You make it highly undesirable, and it's going to be it's successful, and it's going to work in California for the anti-gunners, unfortunately.
Eric Graves from Soldier Systems Daily posted this the other day, and I think he's right about it. This is a different way of looking at it. He's like, we need to stop treating this as a constitutional thing, because nobody cares about the Constitution. The government completely craps over the Constitution every day. A perfect example is Hillary Clinton getting off with a slap on her wrist because of violating federal law, right? This is a civil rights thing. So why is it that everybody else's civil rights are more important than my own? And yeah, ultimately at the end of the day, it comes down to the Second Amendment, but we need to maybe shift focus from the Second Amendment to civil rights. Listen, if you want to be a transgender, fluid gender, whatever, furry, that worships the moon god, it's your right to do so in America, right? So here we are, supporters of the Second Amendment, people that have enjoyed a right that's been granted to us by our forefathers for hundreds of years, and we're being ostracized. We need to make this into what it is, which is a civil rights. I should not be
a second civil rights movement. That's actually a really good point.
And like Eric, he kind of like put some examples of why this is ultimately a civil rights thing over a constitutional thing. And I know what he's doing. He's being diplomatic and he's being a little bit of a wordsmith with it, but I'm starting to think maybe that's the right direction we should go in. That's the direction we should follow. Which is, why is it okay for a man to choose to be a woman and now be allowed into a bathroom, but I can't own a rifle? Why, like, you're infringing on my rights now. Every time you attack if you attack the gay and lesbian, transgender, whatever community, people shout out in an uproar about it, right? And rightfully so, civil rights. Like, as long as you're not hurting me or anybody else, who am I to say, as an American, to tell my fellow American how to live their life?
Well, I think the really interesting thing is that it's people that want you to treat them like everybody else, trying to shove their way of life on you. It's like, hold on a second. Whatever happened to leave me the hell alone? I'm not bothering you. Treat it, like don't smash that bug. It's not bothering you. Don't hit that bee. It's not bothering you. Where did that mentality go? What did we miss? Where did we lose our path on this?
Because
what do you think, man?
Animals are more equal.
You're sitting there looking frustrated.
I mean, I don't have anything good to add that hasn't been. It's just we just continue to see the same buy-in from people believing the nonsense that they're told. That's the whole why do you ever need this? You're making me unsafe because you want this. And that the responsibility is never on anyone else for the crimes that they commit or the poor decisions they make or unsafe behavior. It's always on the whole, unless it applies to your feelings about what they're doing, in which case you're stupid and racist. And we have this epidemic of being willing to believe the government that says, we will take care of you, we will keep you safe, you don't need these things, and personal liberties continue to dwindle in the name of the whole and acceptance and it's like nobody's allowed to be different, or nobody's allowed to think differently. And if you do, you're required to hate the person who does think differently. And I guess I want to get pissed and I want to scream and I want to throw my hands in the air and, maybe like tear down an interior non-load bearing wall in my house just for grins like to get through it, but what's it going to do? Just the erosion is very frustrating. I remember being a younger man and being confident in my mind that America is the greatest country in the world, or should be the greatest country in the world. And sorry, I don't feel that way anymore.
I've never seen so many of my fellow countrymen so discouraged as I see them right now. And this stuff is like coming rapid fire, like week by week. It's like rapid fire. It's like the next infringement over the next infringement over the next right, thieved away, stolen from us. And the thing is, it's like, we live in this age where information is transferred instantly, instantaneously, live, right? And I think honestly that the kind of stuff that like the very corrupt, the very obviously corrupt politicians are trying to get away with today is probably the same format that they've always used, but the technology wasn't there to pass that information as quickly, right? And now it is. And they're using it to their advantage, but the people are starting to take note, and they're starting to use it to their advantage as well. There's small chance that the people will realize how badly we've been duped by how terribly wrong things have gone because we haven't had this ability to connect in the way, this way before. Like, I'm optimistic in that sense. I'm optimistic in the sense to think that people are going to realize that I don't have any quarrel with the other side. I don't want to restrict anybody's rights. I don't want to take any rights away from anybody. I want to live my life, and I want to let you live your life. And that the more we fight amongst ourselves, the more the politicians are able to accomplish their goals and trick us into losing more liberties and freedoms and rights.
For the feeling of being safe. Not actual yes, the illusion of safety.
But it's not about safety. It's not. It's about control.
We all know that, but it's
about control.
This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to make people think that these new laws will save them from something that isn't that big of a threat to begin.
Yeah, but that's been going on for well over 100 years. And,
but now people see it, Billy. Now they're starting to see it.
Well, I think some people see it. I think a lot of people don't. But I think there's been a series of things. Yes, but there's been a series of things that have happened over 100 years, from going back to immigration in the early 1900s. Most of these arguments were made on safety. War on drugs, right? It was going to make us safe. People said, yes, do it. War on terrorism, yes, it's going to make us safe. Yes, do it. And in the darkness behind all those things is then all of the slow erosion of our rights, the increase, of the state's spying capabilities, potentially over-militarization of police, which necessarily wasn't a problem until we get more no-knock raids. Thank you, war on drugs. Temperance movement, right? To ban alcohol. That was all about safety, right? I mean, there was some morality in there too, but it was like, people are drinking too much and we're having problems in society. Most of the erosion of our liberty is almost always sold to us in some form of it's going to make us safe. And it has destroyed our rights systematically over 100 years. I believe it is accelerating, and I think we are more aware of it because of technology. Also, because we're more aware of it because of technology, also the people that want to take the rights away have more power now to use that technology. So, although the one thing you did say, Nate, which I think is interesting a little bit ago, if any of you listening have traveled the world, one thing you will notice most people always say is that Americans are always optimistic, especially if you spend time in the UK, right? Oh, Americans, you people are always so optimistic. But I will agree with what you said, Nate. I am seeing more and more people in this country feel like they are beaten down. It really concerns me because that American optimism, right, that we can do anything, I kind of feel it slipping away.
Well, it's the grind of fighting a continually losing battle, and saying what is not just what you feel is right, but what is obviously right, what the country was built on. We're responsible for our own safety. We're responsible for our own well-being. We're responsible to build our own lives for ourselves and be responsible for our families. And responsibility has been removed, and with it the promise of safety to be given to us, which completely eliminates the willingness to take risks. It eliminates the willingness to step out of our comfort zone, to be bold, to be proud, to be Americans. We're made to feel guilty because we're different from other countries. That's what made us great, was being different from other countries. I don't have to explain to somebody from Luxembourg why I want to own a Class 3 firearm, because I can, because I'm American. And if you're not an American, you can understand, and you don't need to understand. I have this because this is what I am. I won the womb lottery or the birth lottery or whatever because I was born here. That is justification enough, and we are one of very few countries that has a document that acknowledges those rights. It doesn't give us the rights. It acknowledges the rights that we're born with as human beings with the ability to think and choose right and wrong for ourselves.
Which is why we fight tooth and nail to defend the sanctity of that document that so many other countries do not have. That's what I'm saying. Is like, it's cause and effect. And now, because we have technology, because we have immediate access to this information, more and more people are seeing that cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. And Billy, you're right. We have 100 years of people sliding things through, corruption, sweetheart deals, everything else. But now it's harder to hide it. It's harder not to see how transparent the wrong is. When this happens, I totally agree. We're sold on safety. Safety is how they trick us. That's how they foil all of us, right? The Patriot Act. They named what does the word Patriot have to do with spying on your own people, right? But you know what? Do you remember this? The Republicans are the ones that brought that forward, and the Democrats are the ones that rejected it and said, no, what about my rights, right? And now, here it is in 2016, 15 years later, it's the other side of the coin, where the Republicans are fighting to keep people, hopefully they are, right? But that's not going to go down that road. Hopefully, or at the very least, you see more Democrats pushing forward this no-fly, no-buy thing, which is just as much of an infringement on our rights as the Patriot Act was. What I'm saying is,
a weird tag team match.
It is. It's bizarre, and I swear to God, it's by design. I swear it's by design. They know what they're doing in that way, right? And the thing is, you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to see how evident, how they're doing such a terrible job hiding it anymore. And that's what gives me hope and the optimism that we're gonna see it, and we're gonna unite, and we're gonna come back to an even keel. We're gonna bring it all back to an even keel where you don't despise your neighbor for believing in something different than you or living a life different than you.
You know what gives me a little bit of optimism? You say that you find a little bit of light there. Oddly enough, the UK breakaway from the EU.
That's a torch in the night as well.
And that, that even across the pond, provided a little bit of hope for me in terms of enough. All it takes is enough of the population to wake up, right? It doesn't have to be everybody. It just has to be enough to be able to start that cascade.
And look at it like this, though. Look at it like this, Ebs. Look at how many people condemned the UK leaving. They condemned, they crucified England for deciding to leave the EU. Their perfect little socialist utopia. And all the best people, all the experts went online on MSNBC and all the major networks and criticized and condemned England for committing suicide, social suicide, cultural suicide, right? My prediction is this. Mark my words. You're going to see more European nations leave the EU in the next year, in the next 6 months, because they realize that it's not working. Socialism does not work. If it worked, we would have some sort of national socialist party.
Well, they've been ruled by Germany once before.
I had a conversation with Ebbs the other night, and we were talking about the Brexit thing, and everybody was chastising Nigel Farage for kind of championing this movement, and the guys on every major news network that is left-leaning was like, oh, what about the markets? These are going to be... He's like, everything's down already. It's not going to change anything. And what's even more interesting is I saw, the general market index, and it was up a little bit, and then as Brexit happened, it went down a few points, and now it's up higher than it's been in months because of this. So the British economy is now recovering from the BS of their previous socialist programs. It's a wonderful thing. Man,
The world's changing, and it's changing quick. And I don't know, this year, this upcoming year, 2017, is both absolutely terrifying to me and amazingly curious at the same time. I cannot wait to see how the world shifts. And the terrifying aspect of it is I can't tell if the world and our nation is shifting for the better or for the worse.
Minnesota concealed carrier shot and killed by police in traffic stop. Companion story: media every town attack gun rights groups over death of Philando Castile.
Let me jump in here. So there's reports that the cops this is the thing in Dallas that's happening as we speak. There's reports that these cops were shot by a sniper. Okay, this is and they're saying up to 6 police officers hit.
The bad thing is now that California has taken away semi-automatics, that state's going to fill with precision shooters.
That's actually a really interesting point. So that's actually kind of related to this Philando Castile and what's the other guy's name? Alton. I can't remember.
Alton Sterling.
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
So this one was the one that was broadcast. The aftermath was broadcast live by his girlfriend on Facebook Live. Of him dying in the car. Pretty intense. Apparently he was a licensed concealed carry holder and may have been just reaching for his identification.
Did the cops instruct him to pull out his wallet or to give him ID?
Nobody knows because the video starts after he was already shot.
Right,
so
it's post. That's so frustrating. Go ahead, Billy. I'm sorry.
I don't know if the cop had a body camera or some type of recording device. I guess we'll hopefully find out. So we don't actually know what the exchange was. If he told them he was carrying a firearm, Minnesota.
Well, if that's
I'm sure
the case, we should speculate as a nation right now and condemn this cop.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
that's what we do, right? It's you're guilty until proven innocent.
I'm literally getting people telling me through my social channels, as this is going on, people are telling me that I need to get behind Philando Castile because he is a legal gun owner, regardless of facts that have not come out yet, because everybody is jumping on this. Oh, where's the NRA? Where's all the firearms associations to protect this? First of all, this is less than 24 hours old. And people are telling me, oh, you need to get behind this guy. Wait a second. I don't know the details. You don't know the details. Why are we trying to get behind something that's unknown?
Look at the cops that were involved with Freddie Gray are still on trial. They're still getting their day in court. These things take time. It's like you can't deploy an infantry battalion in 24 hours, let alone get the NRA involved and have the full support of every gun owner in America.
Not to mention that the NRA historically does not come out and support individual cases like this. They don't do it. They don't do it when it's a good guy. They don't do it when it's a bad guy. It's that simple. That's not the game they play. So these people that are like, where's the NRA now? This is, this guy had a legal gun. Where's the NRA? We hold the hell up. They don't do that.
That's what GoFundMe accounts are for, right?
Oh my God.
Has anybody confirmed that he had a concealed carry permit? I'm just curious because everyone was taking it from the fact that his girlfriend said it in the video, but I actually haven't seen any of the press conferences from the
It's less than 24 hours old. I don't think anybody knows.
There should be public knowledge from his local courthouse, right?
I don't know. Michigan, they're not public record, so okay. I think it probably depends on the state.
They would have to produce they would have to choose. The family would choose to produce his actual credentials or certification in order. I mean, if you would want to prove it, but
So one
I'm
of the
sure
things that was brought up to me during this, as we're all trying to learn what's happening, somebody said that, and it may have been you, Eb, somebody said that he would have to have had, in Minnesota, to get a license to carry, he would have to have had training based on their state regulations, and that training involves interacting with law enforcement.
Which would involve, if a cop's pointing a gun at you, don't reach for your wallet.
Right. Like we don't know what exactly happened. We don't know if this was a mistake on the police part or a mistake on the deceased part. We don't know that.
Like, the condemning thing is that his girlfriend is saying that he was reaching for his wallet. Like that stands out as, like, right there. That's a red flag, huge red flag.
Yeah, he went for a gun. I mean, if the gun's right there and your wallet's right there, you don't go for it.
Yeah, even if the cop tells you to go for it, you don't go for it.
Yeah, you say,
no,
officer, no.
It's like this: when you guys get pulled over for speeding, where do you have your hands when you're sitting in your vehicle?
I already have. Dude, the thing that I think a lot of people miss
like
is
10 and
you
2,
can take
right?
your wallet
That's what
out
a smart
before
person
they get
would do.
there.
steering wheel or before, yeah.
Right? So that like, to me, that comes out as, like, common sense. Like, oh, the cops are here. I'm staying like this, and I'm following every order. And, like, put your hands down. Okay, what happened? I'm gonna explain what happened now. Give me your wallet. I am reaching for. I will be painfully slow with that. What I'm saying is, like, the fact that she so quickly said that he was going for his wallet. I don't know. That doesn't strike me. Like, let the cop put you in cuffs and take the wallet out of your pants for you, right?
Right.
Like, I don't know. This whole thing is fishy, and look, the percent of bad cops in this country are very low. And it's extremely hard to get into police work these days because of incidents like this. They scrutinize, like, that proverbial 10% is dwindling every day. Because if you're a liability to the force and you're going to cost the city or the township or the county money, they're going to get rid of you long before you ever get in an officer-related shooting. I'm saying, like, I personally feel that police are better than they ever were before. They're better trained. They know more about the law. They want to avoid getting Jimmy jammed in the legal process every bit as much as you do.
Is that a technical term, Jimmy Jam?
Jimmy jam? That's an old sergeant term right there.
So the only thing I will comment on with this video is the fact that how calm his girlfriend was, the woman recording this. Like, it's unbelievable, like, how she's just sitting there talking, and they're like, wow, this woman's really calm.
It honestly seems like she doesn't care. Let's be fair.
Now, people deal with grief or stuff like that in different ways, so I wouldn't go that far to say that. But
well, I mean, she's been recorded. You know, there was a live video of her today, not that long ago, where she's crying and all this other kind of stuff. But yes, you're 100% right. It's very weird.
So there, from what I'm seeing, the CCW is not confirmed and has only been mentioned by the family.
Yeah, so we need to see that from the state to really know if that's the case. But in Michigan, you go through training and you go through, hey, here's what you do if you get pulled over by a cop, right? Michigan, you have to disclose right at the time of first encounter. You have to disclose in Michigan, and that's how most states are.
The thing that's weird about this is, like, the Ferguson incident, the cop was found that it was justifiable. The Freddie Gray thing in Baltimore, every cop, which I will point out that it was a rainbow of faces that were involved in that incident as far as law enforcement goes, right? So you had white cops, you had Hispanics, and you had black cops that were all indicted for the death of Freddie Gray, and one by one they're getting found in an extremely democratic, extremely liberal city that they did not commit they didn't do anything wrong, right? So if we riot so quickly over Freddie Gray and over the Ferguson incident, like, this Dallas thing, like, it's only going to get worse. This is going to continue. I promise you. The closer we get to election, the more this is going to happen. It's going to get out of hand. It's going to go crazy. It's going to be. I think by the time November rolls around, it's going to be worse than the LA riots. It'll be national.
Yeah, the thing with prosecutions, though, that we have to always keep in mind is it's very hard to find prosecutors that, first of all, want to charge law enforcement, because prosecutors have to work so close with law enforcement. And so there is sometimes conflict of interest. Obviously, we saw that in the Freddie Gray case because there was a lot of public pressure, and they are being found innocent. So there are a lot of tensions there between prosecutors and law enforcement. Prosecutor needs the cops on his side so he can try cases. He needs that info. So for that prosecutor to turn around and then start charging law enforcement, it becomes a contentious situation.
Look, if a cop makes a bad call, right, and he kills somebody that doesn't need shot, then I expect him to have those repercussions rain down on him. I understand what you're saying. It's like, all right, well, it's like a give and take, right? But like that check and balance is still there. And I think that's part of it. What I'm saying is, like, I refuse to believe that 90% of cops are racist, or 80% of cops are racist, or even 50% of cops are racist. Just like I refuse to believe that 90% of cops they're hitting their patrol with malice in their heart. They want to hurt citizens. No, they don't. They don't want to lose their jobs. Like, I think it's like 95% of cops involved in an officer-related shooting, not even a lethal killing, like they killed a guy. 95% of cops are off the force within 1 year because of the long-term psychological and social impacts of them taking a life or getting in that shooting in the first place. I don't give cops the benefit of the doubt. I believe that they're like any other citizen, because that's exactly what they are. They're tax-paying citizens. But at the same time, it's like we ask them to do an extremely dangerous job every day, and then when they have to do that job, we Monday morning quarterback every move they ever made. I have the feeling, I already have this feeling. I don't have my mind made up, but I have the feeling that this cop had to make a split-second decision. He reacted on it, and this dead young man is the result of that action. And it's going to come out. It's up to the court to decide whether or not that was justifiable or not justifiable.
All right, we're running really long on time. I'm skipping some stories here. You guys feel free to bring them up during your full auto news story if you want to. We're going to father has negligent discharge at range and kills his son.
It was avoidable. It was a tragedy. Let's move on.
In Florida, apparently hot brass went down his shirt. He reached down and lifted the gun hand up, shot into the ceiling, and it ricocheted into his son, killing him.
So the most poignant thing about this particular instance is that I saw a quote from the father, and he said, "The gun didn't kill my son, I did."
Wow. That sucks.
That's awful. But it's
not untrue.
In this time, when he is dealing with one of the worst feelings a man can feel. I mean, he literally killed his own son. He is being truthful, and that's impressive and reassuring.
Oh, and he's going to live with that for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, a day's not going to go by where he's not going to think that he did something really stupid and his son died.
Yep.
The thing is, like, how freak of a thing, like, if he reacted poorly to the brass and he pointed the gun up, that was his natural body response. The ricochet, like, the odds of that. Oh. Like.
Yeah, but I mean, you gotta. It was probably unfair to go in and critique the actions outside of the moment, but knowing that he was in an indoor range, firing close to any sort of barrier, whether it be overhead or beside him or anything like that, is not like being outdoors where there's no obstructions.
Yeah, but like this isn't like one of those cases where it can be like, keep your finger off the trigger till you're ready to fire. If he was aimed in, ready to fire, and a piece of brass landed on him from adjacent range, and his reaction was to pull back because of the burning sensation. I mean, we've all been hit with hot brass. It's not pleasant, right? Like, I still react to hot brass, but my primary reaction is for my trigger finger to fly off the trigger.
It's a freak thing.
It's a freak thing. That's what I'm saying. That, like, this is such a terrible tragedy in the sense that, like, was it avoidable? Maybe, maybe not. Like, I can't, like you said, Ebbs, we can't speculate about this because we don't have all the information. But one thing that we do know is that Dad's going to follow that. That's going to follow him to the grave.
Mm-hmm.
We're to the I'm offended section. I'm not necessarily offended, but somebody here is offended. Skipping one story for time. Wisconsin Milwaukee man angry over fireworks shoots gun at kids.
I heard he was a
Talk
Joe
about an
Biden fan.
overreaction.
Get off my lawn! 2 shotgun blasts, 2 blasts.
Fire
Yeah,
to
this
blast.
is a perfect example of what not to do if you own a firearm. The cop showed up and he said, "Oh, I just fired fireworks at the kids," and the kids are like, you pointed a gun at me," and then the guy's like, "Yeah, okay, I did point a gun at you."
Unbelievable.
It was one.
Not just point a gun at you, I shot
Yeah.
in your direction.
Reported that it was a Glock 40. So,
But
I
think it's pronounced 40.
40. I can't do that.
Come on, Jake. You're so thug.
I am.
So
I'm
I
so
need
thug.
to listen. We need a break from the seriousness. Say Glock 40.
Glock 40.
Oh, come on.
I can hear the angel food cake in your voice.
So, this story, this guy that shot at gun at kids, and obviously someone needs to probably consider charging him, and possibly he loses gun rights. I don't know. Let the courts sort that out. But as far as like doing stupid stuff in public, I mean, they need to bring back the stockades and whipping posts where you set a guy out in the stocks for a week in the public square, and he'll think twice about doing stupid stuff like this again.
Shame has been outlawed in this country.
So, yeah,
We're not allowed to shame anybody anymore.
Someone's sensibilities will be offended.
I mean, I don't see a problem with people being allowed to spank other people's kids.
I do.
Yeah, I kind of do that.
I'm going to beat somebody.
But I mean,
if you're
in context, if your kid is out there and like within the context of a neighborhood, and when I think of that, I think of old school like 50s mentality where the neighborhood is a unit, and you're
a
like
community, like a tribe.
I'm just saying.
I'm going to tell you, if someone touched my kid, I would.
Bad news. I'm just saying, even if my kids are being buttholes, if they're being careless with the fireworks, whatever. If you walk out and grab my kid and spank him, or fire a gun in the direction of my kid, while even if they're being stupid, and you know whose kid it is, or you can come to me or call me and say, "Hey, she's down here like a block away, and they're pointing Roman candles at bike riders," something like that. I'll be out there and I'll grab my own kid and I'll haul her in and we'll deal with it. But if I catch you doing that with my kid, I'm going to prison.
See, I understand. When I said that, I think of the old school way of doing it.
It goes for my kid and my dog.
Those rules were more clearly defined back in the old days, the days of our elders, where we were more of a community and we actually knew everybody's name that lived on your street.
Phoenix City Council bans laser gun shooting gallery because scary guns are in the laser gun.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm more scared of lasers than I am guns.
All right. I can get on that train.
Hard Z lasers.
Just watch your eyes.
So yeah, this vendor, they signed up for the Phoenix fabulous Phoenix 4th of July and Independence Day, and they were denied their, I guess, vending application because the board said everyone agreed that it would be a great exhibit, but the city of Phoenix is very conscious about the perception of violence given the current climate.
Typical.
All right, moving on. So we have a question of the week.
That's a really long question.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really long question. Maybe
you want me to sum it up?
Yeah, go ahead, Ebbs.
So we have a gentleman from Texas who thought previously to be on the Facebook page that everybody on the show is old, specifically that Jake is a white-haired 70-year-old man. But he's an elder at his church in Texas, which, by the way, he identifies as the Republic of Texas, and he is trying to figure out more effective ways to have defensive options toward potential attacks on their church, I'm assuming during meeting times. He doesn't tell us what size the church is, but they have done such things as drills, like similar to fire drills or missing child drills or things like that. And so he's looking for input on, in addition to run, hide, fight.
That was
Being
the summary?
more or less.
I'm messing with you, Ebbs.
So so he's there. Him and another person carry in church legally with permits, but he's considering arming more people and looking for the best way to address this. Apparently, there's some fear. I'm under the impression maybe it's a little bit older congregation. So he's trying to find ways to help protect the flock, as it were.
Any ideas?
Oh, I got all kinds of ideas for this. So,
Claymores?
when things go sideways, you will only do what you have trained to do, right? So if he's already involving other members of his congregation to be involved, right, that's a good thing. The best thing that I think they can do is to say, like, publicly, hey, let's do a recruiting campaign. Anybody that wants to be, like at my church, there's ushers, right? And that's like a position. Like, the same ushers are there every Sunday, and they're the ones that do usher stuff, right? So what we would do is say, like, who has a concealed carry weapons permit and who's willing to take on this burden of responsibility. And then if they sign up for it, then after church every Sunday, you go to a local range, you figure out some sort of criteria, some sort of standard to hold your people to, and if they make that standard, then they can keep that position. If they cannot make that standard, they cannot hold that position. You talk to local law enforcement, you ask, we call you, it's 9:15 on a Sunday morning, this is the situation, there's somebody in our building, in our congregation shooting, what is going to be your reaction? I would look at, like, formulate a good plan, recruit good people, vet those people, test those people, hold them to a standard, and it'll all work out.
I think that it would be, Brian, if you are listening, you sound like a regular listener, especially if you can tell Jake is old just by his voice. But I would say in your area there are reputable firearms trainers who you could seek out to do group training with. So to piggyback on Nate's idea of finding more willing participants, you don't just, necessarily go to the range, lay out everybody's firearms on the table, and start loading ammo and just, like, plinking away or something. We're talking about getting somebody in the building, looking at exits. He actually talks about the bottleneck of their sanctuary and difficulty of getting in and out, but it's okay to go outside of your own mind and go outside of your own community and sphere of influence to find somebody that does this exact type of thing to help prepare you more for the type of situation that you're concerned about.
I will say this. There's people out there that can come down and survey your site. There's people that can say this is what your capabilities are, what your limitations are, things to take note of in your building. If you contact Jared Ross with Rockwell Tactical, he's an extremely devout Christian man himself, and you say this is what my situation is, I promise you that you can hire him to come down, examine the facility, meet the people that you have in queue, and he will help you put together a plan and a training regime or regiment that will be appropriate for your church. I know he's
totally agree with that, man.
That was my next statement, actually.
Jared's done it for his own church. I know he's done it for other people's churches. He's done it for schools. Jared's I think like 15 years right now in Army Special Forces, one of my most trusted friends and confidants, and one of my mentors.
And
I can't recommend that. If you send him an email with the same description and the same question that you're asking us right now, I guarantee you he can give you a better response than we can.
well, and if you're
That's his wheelhouse.
if you're at all concerned about approaching someone like that in fear and maybe stepping in that world that's unknown or being belittled, Jared was the name I was going to mention because he, despite his experience, he wants to come alongside of you and help you prepare and help you understand and help you be ready, and does so in an extremely approachable way. If you ask a question that could be perceived as stupid or you might fear would be stupid, whether it is or not, he will never ever make you feel that way.
Good stuff. Overflow section. Too many stories. Way too much to cover this week. Overflow show notes are at firearmsradio.tv. Click This Week in Guns. And yeah, you can check them out. They usually post up Friday morning. Contribute to the show and the Firearms Radio Network by shopping our Amazon affiliate link. Bookmark firearmsradio.tv/Amazon and click through each time you shop Amazon, and a small portion of your sale goes to supporting pro-gun shows like This Week in Guns. Full auto news segment, stories the real media won't talk about, and other crazy stuff. This is where each of the hosts picks a story to call their own. You guys go ahead and make your selections. In the meanwhile, I want everyone to go over to firearmsradio.tv, click This Week in click This Week in Guns, and click the JWB Military and Brass giveaway. Just a few weeks left of this giveaway, so hurry up, go over, click This Week in Guns, click JWB Military and Brass giveaway right there at the top, and enter your email, and you get entered to win free bags of ready-to-load, fully processed brass, high-quality brass, by JWB Military and Brass. So check it out. Who's ready?
I'm ready.
Go for it, Dubs.
I've actually got two. I'll do one, and then we can branch off and come back. The first one is related to an extra dose of America this holiday week, and that is an eagle-eyed. The headline says, "Eagle-eyed Army sharpshooter frees eagle hanging upside down in a tree," and they're apparently in. This is in Minnesota. There's an eagle who's caught in a piece of rope wrapped around a branch, and he's 75 feet off the ground. So this Army vet steps in with a .22 rifle, looked like a Marlin Model 60 maybe. Fired 150 rounds to get the rope so that the eagle could fall freely, and actually some other branches apparently broke the eagle's fall. It's going to make a recovery. It's at the University of Minnesota Raptor Center in St. Paul, and they have named the bird Freedom.
150 rounds, huh? Explains why it was an Army sharpshooter and not a Marine sniper.
Hey, you're jumping in, dude. You're jumping in on my story, man.
I had to do it.
But it's interesting. It's interesting what the public perceives sharpshooter rate of fire to be at 150 rounds. But he said it was windy, so it sounds like he had some excuses prepared. But
I've always noticed wind drift to be absolutely terrible with a .22 at 50 yards.
Well,
so.
and identifiably, if you've ever tried to shoot, if you shoot at a 90-degree angle, so if you're shooting at a target directly parallel to the ground straight out from you, it's easier than if you have to go at a rake up.
It's weird because incline and decline don't affect. It doesn't affect accuracy for the first 100 yards. But anyway,
it affects stability, is what I'm talking about.
The Freedom Eagle is now free, and that's what matters. Mission accomplishment is all I care about. And this soldier managed to do his job and free that Freedom Eagle. I like it. I had to throw it in there, Ebbs. You gotta understand.
No, that's why I mentioned it. I knew it would be popular. So.
But hey, good on that soldier. He did a good thing. It was a great thing that he did. So,
John, what do you have?
I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted by what's going on in Dallas. I'm going to give another quick update because I want people to know that are watching this live. It's now up to 10 officers shot, 3 dead, 3 critically injured, and no one is in custody yet.
Jeez.
This is what's happening right now in Dallas. The product I have is a little bit of a lighthearted thing. It's called the Gill Arm Lock for Glock pistols. Essentially, it's a version of an arm brace for an actual pistol, not an AR-15 pistol. This is something that goes up into the rear end of your Glock and comes back and wraps around your forearm, kind of like the Spas 12, the Franke shotgun of yore. Similar concept, but it wraps around the top of your forearm to kind of absorb that rearward and downward reaction when you shoot a pistol. Honestly, it's $55, and I want to buy one to see if it works. I think it's a neat idea. I'm kind of shocked it took this long for me to see something like this, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you think that this is a somewhat useful product?
no, based off of size. Like, you know how like back in the old days, dudes always had their pistols on lanyards in the military? It was so that they could push out and create tension off the sling or the lanyard that the pistol was tethered to, so that it would enhance accuracy. I see this being maybe potentially useful to somebody that shoots competition, right? Because it's helping support the weight of the gun. But as far as practical application, not so much.
I'm gonna buy one because it's ridiculous.
I want to see that thing, and then I want to see you shoot like a SIG brace.
I wonder if it'll fit the 10 mil.
Is the plug the same size?
I doubt it because it's over here somewhere. I doubt it because it's a full size gun as opposed to the
Well, then that means
1719.
the plug would be bigger than on a smaller size, like 9mm or 40. So we could probably fill that cavity with epoxy putty. So
I'm not epoxying that thing into my gun.
no, listen, crazy. What we're gonna do is we're gonna fill that cavity with aluminum foil and then put the plug in there with epoxy putty. And when it cures, it'll be one unit, and then we can slip it back out. Science. Or something. I don't know.
You said,
Hey,
listen here, crazy. And
we
the
can make
next
this
words
happen.
were
We can make this
10
happen without permanently modifying your gun. So let's do it, John.
Okay.
I'm on team.
They're out of stock right now, so that's kind of a problem. But
This is gonna be Project Atrocious 2. Yes.
I'm in for that. I might in fact go purchase a police trade-in gun precisely to do something ridiculous like this.
Let's do it. I'm on your team. I'm ready to help.
All right, Billy, what do you got?
Somebody save us.
So I got a story here that really caught my eye. I'm just going to read a couple lines of it for you here. A home invasion this Saturday night didn't go all as planned. In fact, one of the suspects entered the home with 2 hands, but left with only one after coming face to face with a machete-wielding resident.
Thank you for stealing my local story, Billy. This is my story. Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania.
I got it first. And what just jumped out at me is this is kind of like Justice Saudi Arabia style.
No,
right?
like Nicaragua.
Well, no, Saudi Arabia, because if they still cut people's hands off. So this guy's sleeping in the basement, 28-year-old. 2 intruders broke in through the door. He thought what they appeared to have a handgun. Later turned out they only showed up with a BB gun. He grabbed the machete and started swinging it, chopped one of the guy's hands off. They immediately turned around, ran out, left a huge trail of blood, and his buddy, who broke in with them, loved him so much he pushed him out of the car at the emergency room and took off. So the guy's now healing up after his impromptu amputation. And I just want to say, do not underestimate the power of a large knife, swinging it with force.
Never bring a BB gun to a machete fight.
I feel like a machete is like a battle axe and a sword had a baby.
A whole bunch of suckers learned this lesson way back in the Bronze Age, so I'm not too impressed.
I hope it was like a really like bootleg machete too.
I like to think it was the nicest cold steel machete that they make.
I was hoping for like a rusty Bear Grylls machete.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I hope this guy just had to get a ton of tetanus shots, right? Like, not only did he lose his hand, he's going to have tetanus. His jaw's going to lock up. His neck's going to get stiff.
Don't you love that? Don't you love that in the story though? It says he grabbed a nearby machete. Like he didn't. It was within an arm's reach of where the altercation was taking place. So the dude is like maybe he's the type of guy that keeps weapons close when he plays Call of Duty or something like that. And he had a machete within arm's reach when guys break in, and just the fearless nature of going at town when you don't know if it's a BB gun or a firearm that they're holding or something like that. That was some serious force and a sharp machete to just sever the hand.
Well, it says he grabbed the machete and started swinging.
Right.
Like,
well, maybe that was his only weapon. Maybe that was the only weapon he had, too.
It's amazing.
Like, never forget that there are young American servicemen in competition with each other on a daily basis to get their tomahawk kill, entrenching tool kill, and MRE spoon kill.
Nice. Spoon kill. I think a more appropriate term for what he did the machete instead of swinging it was wielding.
Nice.
I mean, like, if you think about what a machete is, really it's nothing more than a short sword, like a Roman gladius.
I really want this guy to be like a hardcore nerdy gamer or something.
You know what's
How at you?
Like Jesse Eisenberg or something with a machete.
You know what's a coincidence?
You can leave.
Look at what he has in his
You
hands.
can leave, but your hand belongs to me.
So,
Kill Bill.
a couple. I had already picked these up, but a couple of the patrons that are subscribed to get the boxes we send out are getting a Gerber machete.
Yes, is that the with the saw on the back?
Yeah, it's got. I think they almost all have the saw.
That's
on the back.
perfect because if you can't just knock someone's hand off in a fell swoop, you can pin them down and just saw through the bone the rest of the way.
Hey, believe it or not,
this opinion has been endorsed by the Firearms Radio Network. And all opinions expressed are the express written consent.
Okay, Nate, what do you got?
All right. Well, after reviewing the stories and Billy stealing mine, I've gone to my default. I'm like, sorry, Billy, I forgive you. Anyway, Texas governor calling for convention of the states to reel in Washington. So Texas Governor Greg Abbott is calling for a constitutional convention of the states to bring Washington politicians back in line with the rule of law and the spirit of the Constitution. So this is actually pretty cool, and I can't paraphrase this, so I'm going to have to read this. If you're unfamiliar with what a constitutional convention is, it's pretty simple. Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution makes it clear that Congress has the power to amend the Constitution by adding amendments. Most people understand that it is Congress and not the President, no matter how mighty his pen or phone may be, who writes the law. In addition, Article 5 also gives the same power to amend the Constitution of the states. The states can convene, propose an amendment, and as long as there's a three-quarters agreement from the states, the amendment shall be ratified. Now, here's the cool thing about this. It's never been done. It was written into the U.S. Constitution in Article 5, and we've never actually done it. So I imagine like all the founding fathers like standing around like, whoa, like, yeah, you know, we don't expect Congress to get crazy or anything, but like, what if? And you're like, that's a good point, Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah,
let's put a stipulation where the states can convene and have their own convention and say, listen, this stuff's getting out of hand. Let's put a new amendment in. Like, this would be, if I was this, Greg Abbott. I like where this guy's head is at, right?
Read the quotes.
Term limits. Why is that not an amendment? That would be the first amendment I would make to the Constitution, adding term limits.
In Congress, you're talking about.
Oh, to all politicians, universally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Never forget. Like originally, Benjamin Franklin said that there should be 50 presidents, and that they should constantly rotate out. Right. So each state would have their own president, and all 50 presidents would sit down, and it was very similar to like what we have with the Congress and Senate. However, he proposed it, like it was shot down almost immediately, but I think that's his proposal is what helped force us to go to a system where we have the Congress and we have the Senate and we do have the president at the head of the totem pole at the top.
Watch this quote from the press release of Governor Abbott. We are succumbing to the caprice of man that our founders fought to escape. The cure to these problems will not come from Washington, D.C. Instead, the states must lead the way. To do that, I am adding another item to the agenda next session. I want legislation authorizing Texas to join other states in calling for a convention of states to fix the cracks in our Constitution.
So wait, the Texas actually needs authorization to do this?
No, they're trying to unify. They're trying to unify all the states, John. Like, here's the deal. Like,
every state has to vote to be a part of the convention of the states in order to come together. The governor can't just decide on it.
They have to vote to do it, and then in order to change anything, they have to have 38 states because technically we're 50, half of 100 falls in terms of percentages. In order to get 75%, it would be 37 would be 74%. So you have to get 38 states on board for whatever the changes are.
I also kind of feel like the governor's kind of like priming the pan so that if the rest of the states don't want to do this, we might see a Texit within the next couple of years.
So if anybody's interested in more info on this, there's a Facebook page. It's Convention of the States. There's also a website that because I've kind of been really into this for the last 5 years. You can go to cosaction.com. It's for Convention of the States, action.com. I think the Facebook page has like 700,000 likes, something like that. This group's actively been pushing for this for a few years now, and I think this is one good solution to really reel in our federal government.
So you would like to see this happen, Billy, right?
Oh, hell yeah, in a heartbeat.
Why do you think the governor is proposing this right now? Like, what do we have to gain from it?
Well, I think one of the biggest things, first of all, is term limits. I think also another thing, when you start to talk about budgeting and putting an amendment to the Constitution that doesn't allow the federal government to spend more money than they're bringing in, are two key areas where we can really reel them in. And Congress isn't going to do it on their own. They love an endless checkbook. So for the states to say up and say, hey, you're bankrupting this country, a lot of federal debt, it impacts the states. And so for the states to stand up and say, hey, we're going to have a convention of the states to amend the Constitution, I think it's a good thing.
I really support this idea. I think this is like one of the best ideas I've heard in a long time. Like, I didn't even realize that this was aspect of the Fifth Amendment, that we could do this.
Because you've only ever heard it go one way. You've only ever heard Congress amending the Constitution. You've never heard it come from the states back up.
Right, but it's never it never had to be done before, right? If not now, then when, right? Like, this is such an exciting concept to me, and that's probably why we're not seeing it on all the different news sources out there. Like,
you've probably never heard the news say anything about Convention of the States, right? Ever, right?
I want to see this happen. I think this is like the greatest idea ever. We could benefit
go check out the
so
Facebook
much as
page.
a nation.
So all the listeners out there, go check out the Facebook page and get involved, share the ideas, because more people, when you talk to people about this, they're like, "Whoa, I had no idea you can do that." So share some of the posts they got going out, try to educate people on this, because it is one way that we can try to reel in Washington.
You know who's going to get excited about this is all the flyover states, like all like the heartland of America's states that don't feel like their opinions matter or valued at all. They're like, yes, we have a say. Every state has an equal say in this, right?
Right.
So you look at how many states, like Pennsylvania, for example. Like, Pennsylvania loses out because of cities like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh that are traditionally democratic cities. Like, they side more with the Democrats than they do with Republican, traditional, conventional, conservative views. But the majority of the state of Pennsylvania loves the Constitution. It's rural farmland. It's hardworking blue collar workers. This is like such a great example of how America can take it. They start taking the reins back from the politicians. I sincerely hope this happens.
Well, I have a lot more faith in my state government than I do my federal government, and I'm not even putting like I have so much faith in my state. I'm just saying my federal government faith level is so freaking low. Uh, I mean, it's so far down there that I have much more faith in my local tax office, even though I dislike them.
All right, my turn, I guess. Portuguese homemade revolver uses homemade cartridges. So in Portugal, I think a lot of guns are outlawed, but apparently shotgun shells are still easy enough to get. So this is from like a Portuguese police agency that had, they busted someone for having these illegal weapons, and it includes a homemade side-by-side shotgun, and also I think it's a completely homemade revolver, or at least somewhat homemade, the barrel and cylinder, I believe. And to actually shoot the revolver, he's got to completely make cartridges, like not just find spent brass and reload the brass, but because you can't even find the brass, so you have to, they had to make their own, basically brass, quote unquote. It looks like they used aluminum or something.
They made their own casings. That's insane.
Made their own casings, and they made their own casings by gutting shotgun shells, because you got the primer, you got the powder, you got the lead that you can melt down and make your own projectiles, which they did.
Look at the size of the primer in reference to the whole cartridge. That's insane.
Shotgun primers, yeah.
209s.
Yeah, but if they had to make their own cartridge, like you think about what a primer is, it's like a anvil, so that when the fire pin strikes it, it crushes metal between metal, and that creates friction that ignites the compound. So they probably increase their likelihood of success of the cartridge going off by having it so big and the casing so small. This is so cool. This is so neat.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They're speculating that the cartridges, they look a little bit longer than a 357, but they're suspecting the energy levels might be around that of a 38 special.
Downplay it. Go ahead, Portugal.
Yeah. Do you guys remember from the original Jurassic Park movie where they found out the dinosaurs were breeding, and the rich guy says life found, or one of the guys says life found a way?
Yeah.
That's what this makes me think of, only with guns. Like, take away, well, okay, we can't have guns, we'll make our own. And this is kind of ingenious.
So, like, I had my Independence Day barbecue, right? And one of my buddies came, and he's an EOD tech in the city of Baltimore. And I asked him, like, how often do you actually, like, have to defuse bombs? He's like, dude, every day. I'm like, what? I'm like, what kind of bombs do you defuse? He's like, dude, pipe bombs, non-stop pipe bombs, all the time pipe bombs, and all kinds of homemade explosives, right? So I said to him, like, let me ask you something. And, like, in a grid-down scenario where there's no rule of law, what do you think, how much do you think people would rely on homemade explosives and homemade firearms and homemade things like that? He's like, oh, dude, it would skyrocket. It's like, you can't fight human nature. Human nature is that I'm scared and I need to protect my family, so I'm going to do so. And despite what the law says, despite what materials are available to me, I will find a way. So, like, Ebbs, were you saying, like, nature will find a way? Human beings will find a way.
Right.
If there's an obstacle, by our very nature being, like, clawless, fangless, hornless animals, the one thing we have is our brain to rely on. And that's the one thing that we use to conquer our problems. That's what this guy did. I mean, who knows why he made the gun, but it's still pretty cool.
Because he's awesome. That's why.
All right, second round. Abs, you had a second round.
I had one more because our show would be incomplete without Florida Man. And Florida Man has reappeared again, this time in Manatee County. And I think it's really fitting that this Florida man is naked in Manatee County. I love putting the words naked and manatee together. And he's wielding a Glock pistol with an extended magazine, shouting obscenities, threatening to shoot people, and disappears into a used car lot and comes back with shorts on. He put some shorts on, and then they apprehended him. He did comply, but as he's getting down on his knees for police to cuff him, he's shouting, "Shoot me! Shoot me!" So this apparently happened like Saturday, or Friday evening late, last Friday evening late, and I'm speculating meth.
No.
Yeah, we
No.
did a lot of
not a young gentleman like that.
like
In Florida.
what pushes somebody to go, you know what? People piss me off. I'm gonna shoot them if I need to, but I'm gonna get down to the way God intended, and I'm gonna do it naked.
There's no meth in Florida.
They're gonna take me seriously. Yeah, but there are trailer parks in Bradenton.
There's lots of bath salts in Florida?
Yes. Well, remember the guy that was on bath salts that actually ate the homeless guy's face off?
I remember that. I'm like, this
only happens in Florida.
This patient zero. The zombie apocalypse begins now.
Mm-hmm.
I ran home and loaded mags over that, only for it to turn out to be bath salts, and I feel embarrassed.
All right. Any other second round stories? I mean, we have gems in here such as Ghost Town for sale on Craigslist for only $350,000.
I've been there. It's a letdown. It's a letdown.
It's a letdown. It's people were murdered there. Ebbs, come on. We have U.S. Marine Corps ups the weight guidelines for women.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We'll find that out in the next war.
So. Billy, I'm surprised you didn't take this when you were talking about how a lot of other things kill people other than accidental gun, incidents. The selfie now kills more people annually than sharks. People taking selfies falling off cliffs and stuff.
Or, as I like to call it, why the Darwin Award matters.
And,
so that's what we have to do.
Do you guys think that we're going to
voting booth? We need to.
Do you think we're going to live long enough? I'm sorry, Billy. I keep talking over you.
I was just saying at the voting booth, we need to give away selfie sticks, right? Forget the Obama phone and everything. Let's just have the government buy a bunch of selfie sticks. That's how we deal with that problem.
They'll weed each other out.
I like to think that we're going to live long enough to see more accidental deaths from selfies than firearms.
Sex Festival is forced to shut down early due to too many people arriving to try out virtual reality porn. Just saying. All right. If you like all these conversations in This Week in Guns, you can hang out with us after the show if you support us on Patreon for $10 an episode. Patreon.com/week. Patriot Patch Company helps make this episode possible. Check out just a very few Gun Collective shirts left over there. Have big boy sizes only. I think we may only have 3X, 4X, and 5X, which is awesome because most companies don't carry those sizes. So check out. Oh yeah, 5X. Believe it. I can get. Special order. We can do up to 10X special order.
It's a frickin' tent.
I bet the Mountain from Game of Thrones would wear a 5X.
Oh, at least.
That's why he goes bare-chested so much.
Yeah.
Nobody makes a shirt in his size.
PatriotPatch.co/TGC. And new pre-orders up there, and also a lot of cool T-shirts. Check out the T-shirts at PatriotPatch.co. So this is part of the show where we see what these guys are up to. So Nate, where can people connect with you, and what's up?
You can connect with me at kineticdg.com for Kinetic Development Group, and you can check out all the amazingly awesome things that we make that I am very proud to say the government and the military is buying now, so that's super cool for us. If you want, you can check out what I'm doing as a person on Instagram. under GripStop. That's kind of like my own little thing, my own little adventure. Otherwise, if you want to get a hold of me, you can email me at nate@kineticdg.com. If it's something asinine and I don't reply, that probably means you probably shouldn't have wrote it.
All right, John, what's up and where can people connect?
I would like to make mention of the brand new show that came out yesterday on TGC called The Legal Brief with our favorite Adam Kraut as the host. It's a show all about busting legal myths and misinformation surrounding the gun world. It's been really, really well received. This week's topic was ATF 41F, trying to give an explanation as to what's happening, breaking it down, what's going to change, et cetera, et cetera.
Awesome first show, by the way.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you. I know Kraut's very proud of it too. You know, it was a lot of fun to create, and we're going to keep doing it. So that's brand new. Other than that, just punch in the Google. You can find me at the Gun Collective everywhere. You know, that's where we'll be, creating as much content as we possibly can and growing the team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Very cool. Abs, what's up and where can people connect?
You know, it's summertime. Starting to look forward to fall hunting season and products that go along with that and work that goes along with that. Connect with me on major social channels as House of Guns, HAUSOFGUNS, and then Snapchat as Everyday Ebbs. That's EBBS.
Cool. Billy, where can people connect and what's up?
Personally, you guys can always find me on Instagram at Amidst the Noise, and obviously Boxer Tactical, which is my company, at Boxer Tac at Instagram, also Facebook and Twitter and all those different places. We got some new stuff coming out. Actually, I've been promising the Apex belts, and they're actually at our shipping partner right now. They just got there today. So we'll be turning those on Amazon and our website this weekend.
Yes.
And the Apex is our inner-outer belt system. And then the 1.5-inch Zenith belts are being packaged, and we should be getting those out to our shipping partner next week. And so that means they'll probably be live in about a week and a half.
That's the super awesome new belt, right, Billy?
No, the super awesome new belt is still being tested.
Oh. You people don't even know. You don't even know what Billy has in store.
They don't know.
Yeah, the super awesome belt. We little more testing on the super awesome belt, and then we'll probably announce it way before we release it, just so we can let all our competitors shake. And that's about it, man. Lots of cool stuff going on, but check us out mostly on Instagram. Facebook are the two places we spend the most time.
Very cool. Check out the Firearms Radio Network, all the other awesome shows here on the Firearms Radio Network, and leave your feedback however you listen or watch, and also contribute to the Firearms Radio Network by using that Amazon affiliate link, firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. Well, thank you, Nate.
Thank you, Jake, for having me on. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, John.
Hey, thanks for having me, brother.
Thank you, Abs.
Yep.
Thank you, Billy.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it.
That's a wrap. We'll see you next week.